Welcome to Bridging the Gap, where we explore extraordinary journeys and dive into the untold stories of young individuals who challenge conventions and redefine success. In an attempt to bridge the gap, I'm your host Sheila, and today we are thrilled to have Anahita Karthik with us. With a background in computer science and a career shaped by words, Anahita's path is anything but linear. She began writing at 8, published her first novel as a teenager, weathered hundreds of rejections, and eventually signed with a big five publisher, and all the while navigating mental health challenges and industry uncertainty. If you've ever wondered whether persistence is worth the cost it demands, this episode is for you. Welcome, Anahita. I'm so happy that you're with us today.
I'm happy to be here.
Great. So let's get started at the very beginning. Tell me about your childhood. Were you an only child? Did you have a sibling? What was it like when you were growing up?
So I'm not an only child. I have two younger brothers.
Okay.
So it was always a very crowded household. I've always shared rooms with them, but I wouldn't have it any other way because my childhood is shaped by my brothers and like that sort of family atmosphere that I had. So yeah, and it shapes a lot of my stories as well. The way
I would love to ask them if they wanted to share a room with you.
Well, I mean, we didn't really have a choice.
Okay. So you grew up in a regular army life kind of home.
Yeah.
And that meant a lot of moving around?
Yeah, a lot of. I've changed 7 to 8 schools.
Wow.
Yeah.
Wow. So, I've noticed that a lot of army kids, when they keep shifting schools, they have other ways of being engaged and making friends.
Yeah.
So some of them get heavily into sport. Some of them get heavily into reading. Was that a natural progression in your life too, that you started reading a lot?
So you'll be surprised to know, but I didn't start reading very early. A lot of my peers started reading when they were in UKG and first grade. I didn't have the patience to read. I was an extrovert. I was always out of the house. I was going for keyboard classes, karate classes. I was running relay races. I was doing debates. So I didn't have the time to read. And my mom always wanted to get me into reading because she was a voracious reader and she had a lot of books. So there was this one time that it was during library class and I decided that I wanted to impress my mom. So this was in 3rd grade. I went and picked up the first book of Mallory Towers series, which was one
by
of
Enid Blyton.
Yeah, by Enid Blyton.
Yeah.
And it was my mom's favorite series growing up. So I was like, I'm going to read the first book and then I'm going to tell her that I read the first book and I'm going to impress her. And I borrowed that book and it completely changed my life because once I read that, I read the rest of the books in like 2 months and asked my grandparents to buy them for me for my birthday. So then, since then, everyone who wants to buy something for me for my birthday, they know it's going to be books. They know it's not going to be anything else.
Wow.
So once I was hooked for life.
Wow. Amazing. Amazing. So here is a question. When you said that you read it, did you kind of read it at one go or did you find you were so hooked that you read it through the night? How did that happen?
Yeah, no, I read it through the night. And in fact, we were on a flight.
Okay.
And that entire flight, I've spent reading Mallory Towers. So I was just hooked. I mean, usually I would watch TV on the flight and that's what my brothers were doing. But I just couldn't stop reading. So yeah.
Wow. Wow. Amazing. Okay. And is that the time that you wrote your first book? Because you wrote it by hand.
Yes, I wrote it by hand. So I started writing the same year that I started reading.
Okay.
I mean, it's just the feeling that Enid Blyton's books gave me. I wanted to, make other people feel that way. And that's why my first like handwritten book or rather full-length novel was this 80-page Mallory Towers fan fiction.
80 page?
Yes, 80 page. So like...
at 8?
Yeah, at 8.
How long did it take you to write it?
I think it took me about a month.
Wow, okay.
So it was like, you'd get those extra notebooks from school, right? So I used one of those notebooks to write the book.
And it was based, or was it set in India? What
No. Because it was a fan fiction. It was a Mallory Towers fan fiction, and fan fiction is not an original piece of work. It's a
Okay.
derived piece of work.
Okay.
You take inspiration from existing worlds and existing characters. So I decided to write a story about Daryl Rivers. She's the main character
Yes,
of
of
Mallory
course.
Towers.
Yes.
Her daughter goes to Mallory Towers. So
Wow.
Daryl's a mom, and like her best friend Sally's daughter ends up becoming her daughter's best friend. So yeah.
Oh, wow.
Yeah.
Do you still have that with you?
I do actually.
I would love to read it because I used to love Mallory Towers. I used to
Yeah,
love.
it was my whole
There
childhood.
was another one, St. Clair's.
Oh my gosh, yeah, St.
Those
Clair's,
were
yeah.
the twins,
Yes,
Isabel
yes,
and
yes,
Pat.
yes,
Yeah.
yes.
Oh my God. Okay.
Yes.
So this one I have to read.
Yeah, I would love to send it to you.
Done deal. Okay. Okay. So that is when you wrote your first book.
Yes.
Is that the time that you felt that you wanted to tell stories and you wanted to write, or did that emotion come in a little later?
I think since the start, I pretty much knew that this was what I wanted to do. I mean, I was also an illustrator. I call myself an illustrator, but I was just drawing in notebooks. And before I started writing, I would draw stories. But then, as you grow up, you let go of certain hobbies because there's so much like occupying your time, and you don't nearly have as much time as you did when you were a kid. So drawing sort of took a back seat, and I started illustrating with words in a way. So that's what I started doing.
Oh my God. Wow. Okay.
Yeah, yeah.
So when I spoke to you before, you said you didn't just want to write.
Yeah.
You wanted fame and you wanted to be published to get that fame.
Yes.
Tell me more about that. I love the fact that you were so clear in your mind.
Yeah. The thing is, like I mentioned, I've always been a very competitive child.
Okay.
If I pursued something, I wanted to be the best at it. So if I did debating in school, I would need to win the first prize, or I would like sob about it at night. If I did a relay race, my house needed to win the relay race. Otherwise, I would again cry about it. And my mom has a lot of pictures of me like crying after a performance. Even though I came second or third, I was crying because I didn't come first. So if I started doing something, I would do it until I sort of reached a state of perfection in my own eyes. So when I started writing and I got hooked onto it more than any other hobby, more than anything else that persisted in my life, I just knew that this was what I wanted to do. So I was, we had one computer in our house, and we would all have specific times where we could use that computer. So I was just looking up how to get published at 10.
How to get published, you were looking
At the age of 10, yeah. And I was looking up who's the youngest writer in the world and how to defeat that person.
Oh, wow. And did you?
Yeah. No, I found out that the author of Captain Underpants wrote that comic book series when he was 7 years old. So, well, I was
that's a
defeated.
cute comic
Yeah.
strip.
It's very cute, yeah.
Wow. I so relate to what you're saying about being competitive.
Yeah.
Because my team at work knows that even if you're having a fun quiz, if I'm not winning, then I'm like, I don't want to play. This is
Exactly.
And they laugh because it could be something as small as an antakshari.
Yeah.
And I'm terrible with songs, but I still want to win. So it's as crazy as that.
I relate to that.
Okay, so this journey of writing started.
Yeah.
Now, you were trying to figure out how to get published, and you went into writing more and more and more. What kind of stuff would you be writing?
So at first, I was just writing Mallory Towers fan fiction. I wrote 2 books in that series, but then eventually I started wanting to create my own worlds. So I would brainstorm a lot in a lot of journals and notebooks, and I would write in a variety of genres. Like I would write fantasies, I would write mysteries, I would write thrillers, and they were all in obviously the middle grade category because that's what I was reading. And I started writing romance when I was, I think, in 6th grade. And there's just something that's so exciting about romance, especially at that age when my mom would monitor what I was reading to make sure I'm not reading anything that I shouldn't be. But then I would like sneak in books from the library and I would be reading stuff that was definitely not meant for the eyes of
A sixth grader.
yeah, a sixth grader. So yeah, and that's when I started getting into writing romance. But then I would never like write romance as its own genre. I was always weaving it into weaving it as a subplot.
Okay.
So when I was writing, say, fantasy, there would be like a romance subplot, and that's what would get me excited because it's always about when the characters finally get together, So
Die hard romantic.
yeah. Oh gosh, I love romance. I started writing at a very young age, and romance that too when I had no romantic experience and I just read a lot of romance novels.
Wow. Okay, here's a question. Now, you obviously were so involved in writing, and it was such a large part of your life. So, how did computer science come in?
Oh gosh. Honestly, I just have one response: peer pressure. Because my parents, in fact, like said to me that you should take up like English literature. But since I scored like decently well in 10th grade, I think every 10th grader who scores well starts thinking, oh, maybe I could take science instead of arts. And I think that was a mistake that I made because once I took science, everyone around me was like either giving JEE or they were giving NEET. And I had taken up computer science as an elective subject in 10th grade. So I was good at it, which is why I took it up as a subject in 11th and 12th as well.
Okay.
Not realizing that, like seeing so many people around me, like, trying to give JEE and getting into NIT and IITs would sort of like have me panicking and wondering whether I could like have a lucrative career in writing or like animation or like drawing, which is why I was like, you know what, I'm gonna do engineering, and then like if this works out, well and good. If it doesn't, at least I'll have a job and I'll have money. So yeah.
Hold on, let me just backtrack a bit. So the panic was arising out of all the competitiveness of these exams?
Yes, I mean, not necessarily competitiveness, because I didn't eventually study for JEE. I was just studying to get into an engineering college. It was more like anxiety because I was like, I don't want to be like broke in the future, and I don't think that as a writer from India, it's going to take me a long while to get to where I want to be. So it's just peer pressure and anxiety that got me into it. Yeah.
So the peer pressure and anxiety of not being able to make it as an author kind of justified your choice into...
Yeah. Because that was when in 10th grade I self-published my first book. And
okay,
then,
what is self-publishing?
So self-publishing is when you don't go like the traditional route where you don't send your books to publishers.
Okay.
Because when you send your books to publishers, they usually like buy it from you.
Okay.
And they like, publish it for you. Everything is included in packaging. And like you get a royalty rate once you've like, sort of earned out the amount of money that they invested on you. But I got a bunch of rejections, and I got like, I think 4 or 5 of them. And at that age, it was very disheartening to me. So I was like, you know what, I'm going to self-publish because I don't think I have it in me to take these rejections. So I decided to like publish my own novel.
Money?
Yeah, it does cost money, but it was
Okay.
not much because I
Okay.
went with this vanity press, and vanity presses are like packagers. They give you a deal, like we'll give you a cover, we'll give you like typeset, we'll put your book on e-retailers, and you just have to pay us this amount and
Okay.
we'll do it for you.
Okay.
That sort of
Okay.
thing. Yeah.
Oh, understood.
Yes.
Understood. Okay.
So yeah,
So the 10th grade was when you published your book?
yeah, my first book.
Self-published.
Yes, my first book I self-published at the end of 10th grade after my board exams. So
And
yes.
was that process so difficult that you said you needed something that was a little more anchoring?
Yeah, it's just, I mean, seeing that, and at that age, for me, friendships were like so important. So when a friend of mine didn't buy my book, or if a friend of mine rated my book 4 stars on Amazon, I would not talk to them. I'd be so annoyed with them and I would take it personally. So it was just a lot for me, and I didn't sell as many copies as I'd hoped. I mean, for me, like I didn't even know what it meant to hit a best-selling list. I thought if all my family members bought the book, I would hit a best-selling list. But I didn't know. Yeah, I was I was very young. So I was just very disheartened by that entire process and seeing that I didn't get as much support as I had hoped. So I guess that's sort of like again pushed me towards engineering.
Okay.
Yeah.
So you went into engineering. Did you do well?
Yes, because I was good at computer science, so I did maintain a decent CGPA. And I was writing the whole time because I always knew that I'm not going to give up on writing. It's just something I'm going to pursue on the side. And when I make it there, then I might let go of engineering.
So, Anahita, engineering is a demanding course. It's not something that you can just do in 4 hours and have the rest of the day free. Writing requires a vibe, it requires an environment, it requires a certain mood. I don't know whether engineering colleges are the best place to sit down and write. How did you balance the two?
Uh, you'll be surprised to know, but it's when you absolutely cannot write is when you want to write the most. As someone who's a full-time author now, I have all the time in the world to write. I can go to the best cafes, I can go on a writing retreat if I want to. But then I just struggle to write most of the days, and my output is not as high as it used to be when I was in engineering college. Obviously, I didn't have as much time because I had assignments, I had vivas, I had exams. So the little time that I had, I would write a lot. So it would either be in my hostel bed or I would go to the cafe where the tables would be sticky. But then it was about the struggle of it, And I was very desperate back then to be traditionally published because once I'd had that experience with self-publishing and I had pivoted towards wanting to get traditionally published, I was, like locked in. So that desperation and that not being able to write when I want to the most was like getting a lot of words out of me. So
Wow.
yeah.
During that time, were you doing well in your studies?
Yeah, I was doing pretty well. I had a GPA of over 8 out of 10, which was really like pretty good for engineering college.
Okay.
Yeah.
And at that time, you also started reaching out to a lot of literary agents.
Yes. So I didn't finish my first book that I mean, I had queried my self-published novels, but like I said, those didn't work out. So I self-published them. Querying is the process of basically reaching out to literary agents for representation because when you want to get published internationally, you have to have an agent and they are the ones who pitch your books to publishers. In India, you can pitch your books to publishers directly, but you can't do that when you are approaching like UK, US publishers. So I was writing my first book that I wanted to properly query, that I knew that I didn't want to self-publish. And I didn't finish it until lockdown struck. And that was after my first year. It was in my second semester, actually. So I had been writing a bit of it, but then I finished it when I came back home. And then I had a lot of time at home. And I was also doing my assignments online. So most of the lectures were just like, they would be on, on Teams and I'd be writing. So yeah, that was when I finished my first book that I wanted to like properly reach out to agents with.
So what about that book made you feel that you wanted to query on that book?
It was a very ambitious project. It was like this, it was called 5 Dimensions, and it was the sci-fi fantasy project that was sort of like, Guardians of the Galaxy meets like sort of like a dystopian vibe as well. It's set like far ahead in the future. It has this system of 5 dimensions. So because I had done like engineering, I had quite a bit of knowledge about like physics and mathematics. So I was using a lot of that, like quantum mechanics and like, space-time continuum and all of that. So I was using a lot of that in that book, and it was very ambitious. And I was like, I don't want to, pay to get this published. I want to be paid to publish this. So that was what.
And what happened there?
Well, so that's where the stream of rejection started. I queried that book in 2020 and I just got rejection after rejection after rejection. And I had read a lot of blogs online. I was also starting to insert myself into the online writing community on Twitter. And it was commonplace to get a lot of rejections. And
what is a lot of rejections?
I mean, for one book, it's recommended to query about 60 to 80 agents. So I'd say 60 to 80 is like the bar. So I did get 65 or 70 rejections for that first book. And it broke my heart because I had
75 rejections.
Yes.
And what I mean, do they actually write back saying, I'm sorry, I cannot represent
Yeah.
you?
They do say that, or sometimes they just send what is called the form rejection in the publishing industry. A form rejection is, you know, that they are not personalizing their response for you. It's
Oh,
just,
that's even worse.
this is not the right fit for me at this moment. I wish you the best of luck in your publishing endeavors. That sort of rejection. So it was really bad. I did get really close to this one getting published with that book because I had participated in this pitching event online on Twitter. And Twitter was like, you know, where writers would go to seek representation because they could interact directly with editors and agents. And you would pitch your book online during a pitching event. And if an agent likes that project, then you can send them the full manuscript rather than just a letter and then wait for them to respond and then send it the full manuscript. So I had gotten a bunch of likes. The agents all passed. But there was this one editor at a publisher that I cannot name, unfortunately, but they were really interested. It got really close. They asked me to work on some revisions. It did not work out. And that was like the last straw with that book.
Oh, do you still have that book?
Yeah, I still have that book. And I still think it's a very cool concept. When I go back and read the writing, I think it's very pediatric. But then I would like to sort of like shape up the writing and make it better because the concept and world building was really good.
Okay.
Yeah. It's just the writing was not there yet. I understand why I got all those rejections. I wasn't ready back then.
Is it easy to get yourself published internationally? Why did you not look at India as a place? Because you mentioned that you were going through agents for an international publication.
Yeah.
What is the reason for that?
Again, it's just I wanted to be among the best in the world. And I just felt that in India, the genres that I was writing, there wasn't really much that was being published. It was mostly like, you know, romances like the ones by Chetan Bhagat or Durjoy Datta, or say like mythological books by Amish Tripathi. And here I was writing this space, like science fantasy, space opera. So it just, I didn't see a market for it in India. And also I knew that Indian publishers don't offer a lot of money on books. They give you like 1 to 1.5 lakhs for a book for a debut author.
Okay.
As compared to the US or the UK, where the lowest advance you can get would be about $8,000 to $9,000, which is like 7 to 8 lakhs.
Okay.
So the difference
is huge.
It's huge. And because I was spending so much time writing these books, obviously I wanted more money for it. And I wanted to reach an international market, which is why I consciously decided to not, you know, pursue publication in India.
So tell me a little more about how these publishing fees work and royalties work. What is better, having a royalty or an upfront fee? Tell me a little more about that.
Yeah, there's always a bit of debate about that in the publishing industry because so far publishing for most debut authors and newcomers has been a very advanced based system where you write a book, you get paid a certain lump sum amount for it, and in the US it's a huge amount. So you can live off of that money for like 2 to 3 years. In India, if you wanted, in the US you could live off of that for maybe a year. And like, you have to earn out that advance amount in sales before the publisher starts paying you royalty. And the royalty tends to be a very small percentage, like 7.5% on hardcovers and 10% on audiobooks. And the rest of the money is eaten up by e-commerce sites and publishers, and your agent takes a 15% cut. So
Of the 7.5%?
Yes.
So if I sell a book for 100 rupees, I will get
7.5 rupees.
Yeah, 7.5 rupees.
Yeah.
Of which 15% could go to
will go to the agent, yes. And these royalty statements are sent out twice in a year with most publishers. So you don't get a paycheck every month. You get a paycheck twice in a year. So a lot of times authors, like there was this one author who hit the New York Times list, #1 on the New York Times list in their first week of publication. But because they wouldn't get their royalty statement until 6 months later, they had to write another book
to get that,
to get money, to earn money and live off of that. So yeah, and sell that. So yeah, it's a very advanced, but again, these advances are really huge amounts. So you can live off of that, but then again, you have to write a lot to sell a lot.
So you wrote this, you know, your version of a space odyssey in a dystopian world.
Yeah.
nobody picked it up.
Nobody picked it up. Yeah.
What happened to you at that time? I would most probably
Yeah.
say this is not for me, and I just go and do something else.
No, it's just it was because I was super into the writing community. I just knew a lot of stories of people who had written multiple books before they could get published. And by then it was the beginning of 2021 when I stopped querying that novel. I had begun to see that my writing had evolved, and I could see like the flaws in that previous project, so I could see why I was getting rejected. And then I had this other idea that was sort of blooming in the back of my mind that I had already started working on, because a lot of writers would advise that start working on a new project when you're querying a certain project, so you have something to distract you and you have something to look forward to. So that's how I started writing another book. This was an action thriller. It was an adult action thriller. It was very violent, very, again, very dystopian, because that's one of my favorite genres to read. And this was also my first queer project, because I'm a queer author myself. And this was my first queer project. And I became more invested in this book than I was in the previous book. So I was like, okay, now I have to whip this into shape. I will take all the learnings that I got from my first book, and I will put that into this. But then I queried that, and I kept getting rejections for that as well.
So, in all,
Yeah.
how many rejections could you have got?
So I queried this one, I queried my self-published project, I queried the thriller, and then I queried another book after this, which eventually got me representation. I accumulated about 300 plus rejections.
300 rejections.
Yes.
And you continued to write.
Yes.
Wow. You know, for me personally, that is a huge, huge, huge point of inspiration. I'm on the other side of your age graph, and I find rejection even today difficult to deal with. So if a client decides not to go ahead with us on a project, I'm devastated.
Yeah.
I take it as a personal rejection. And I know that I should say it's just business and it's
Yeah,
no big
yeah.
deal. But it really, really, really bothers me.
Yeah. It's just after a point, I mean, it did really affect my mental health. It was really bad, because it was when I was querying that thriller book that I like started like getting into depression for the first time.
But had you finished your engineering by then?
No, I think I was in my third year of engineering. I
Okay.
had just started my third year of engineering. And I was also rushing to get like internships and like job placements, because I was panicking that if I don't get an agent, if I don't get a book deal, I have to get a job. So that's what I have to do. So I was panicking about engineering, and I was writing, and I was getting rejected. That's when my mental health sort of started to, like go for a toss. But
When you say
kept-
mental
yeah.
health, go for a toss, what happened?
It's just, because it was lockdown period, I didn't have a schedule. Like I didn't have like, I would go to sleep at 4, 5 a.m. because I would be waiting for agents to respond, because they're in the UK or the US. So they would
Yeah.
respond at night.
Nice.
So I would stay up until 4 or 5. And because of that, I had gut health issues. I would wake up late. And because I would wake up late, my father would scold me for waking up late. So it was just like I was having fights at home, and I was at home all the time. And also I was really scared about getting like, a job, and like having anxiety about that as well. Because by then I knew that my heart wasn't in engineering, but then like I came to this realization that I might have to do it, because I might not have a choice. So it was quite bad. Yeah.
Wow. Wow. So did you do your internships?
Yes, in fact, I was one of the first people in my college to get an internship.
Okay.
It's just with me, it's always like and this was me before, it's not me now, but I would always panic and cry and have a mental breakdown, and then do well, and then get something, and then, feel this sense of instant gratification. But again, that wouldn't last very long. So when I got that internship, it was a very well-paying internship, and I got it. I was so happy. I was like, well, I killed it, and now my life is sorted and all of. But then eventually,
It was
rejections, and it's just that happy high. It lasts for a very short period of time. It's the losses that stay with you for longer, always.
But despite those losses staying with you for longer, you persevered.
Yeah, I did, and
And I can't figure out why you would, because, from this side of the gap. You're a computer scientist, you were a computer engineer, you have got some great options in through internships, you could pick up a job, you were being rejected in what you wanted to do.
Yeah, yeah.
The easiest thing for you would have been to say, forget it, I'll do it as a hobby,
Yeah.
but I'm going back into a job.
Yeah.
What held you on to writing?
It's just, it was always something that like I came back to, because for me writing was in a way meditation. And even though a lot of times I'm fueled by this this wave of competitiveness and this wave of wanting to prove myself, when I eventually sit down to write, it's just the best thing. Like when you write that one scene that you know you've done so well, and it's just everything you wanted, that feeling that you get, it's I cannot describe it. And that was what I was seeking. And it's just from the beginning I knew that I would not stop. I could not stop until I had gotten published.
Wow. Okay, so you wrote that self-published book, then you wrote the 5 Dimensions.
Yes.
Then you wrote this mystery novel.
Yes. Yeah.
Where you said there was a lot of gore and
Yeah,
okay.
yes.
So then you got published.
No, I did not get published
That's
after
3
that.
books and you haven't yet got published.
Yeah, and then once I started getting rejections for the thriller, that was what broke me, because I was even more attached to the thriller than I was to 5 Dimensions.
Okay.
Because I had poured everything of myself that was, I thought I had left in me, into that book. So that was devastating. But then it was around the same time that I was applying for internships, where I was like, you know what, I'm going to write a book that is so marketable to agents that they cannot say no.
Okay.
Because the first step is to get a full manuscript request from agents, because you send in your letter, you send in your first 10 pages, and then the agents request a full manuscript from you, and
Okay.
then they decide whether they want to offer representation.
Okay.
I was failing at that first step. I was not getting requests.
Okay.
So I was like,
Okay.
if I can amass enough requests, then that means I have more of a percentage of agents reading.
Okay.
So with this book, I was like, I'm going to write the best letter, and I'm going to write the best 10 pages and the most marketable concept, but agents won't be able to say no at the first step. Which is when, in the end of 2021, I made a pact with another friend of mine, and she was also querying at the time, and we both were like, let's write really marketable projects and let's write them really fast. So we started in we started in September, and we were done by end of November. And just to experiment and see whether I was going in the right direction, I decided to,
Query again.
query 4 agents and see. And I had 100% request rate.
Oh.
All 4 of them requested my full manuscript.
Oh, wow.
And that had never happened to me, because I was failing at the very first step. So I knew I was heading in the right direction. So I revised the book in December, and then I started querying it in January, which is the perfect time to query, because agents are just off their vacation and they're ready to take on new projects. And I got 32 full manuscript requests. for
Oh,
that book.
wow.
With 32 was a big number, because I had queried about, I think, 60 agents. So it was like 50% of agents requested my book. And I got 2 offers of representation for that book. So
And that was the one that got published.
No. So that was not those.
So you have 4 books down. This
Yes.
is your 5th book.
Yes.
You get a request for the
yeah,
manuscript. You get representation, and your book doesn't get published.
Yes, because there's another step that you have to cross to get published, and that you have to impress an editor. And that job is your agents. So my agent, I love her, but we parted ways very recently because it was not working for us. I love her and I loved her vision for the project, and she was super enthusiastic, but we submitted that book to editors for 2 to 3 years, but then we got a lot of close calls, but it never really got published. So again, I had gotten into this mindset of writing a new project while I was on submission with another one. So I had already started writing Better Catch Up Krishna Kumar.
This one.
Yes, this one. And I saw that
And completely different genre.
Yes, completely. In fact, I was not a rom-com writer. Like I told you, I I never wrote romance as its own plot. It was always a subplot in my books. But I saw that rom-coms they were the in thing, you know? So I was like, okay, this is going to be even more marketable. Even more cliched and even more tropey. It's every single trope you can imagine, it needs to be in there. Like road trip, summer romance, grumpy meets sunshine, all of that. And I wrote it and it's sold in 2 months.
Wow.
Yeah. So
And
this
how
was-
many books have you sold so far? I believe it came out just a few months ago.
Yes, it came out in January. I sold this in 2020, end of 2022. I announced the book deal in the beginning of 2023.
Why does it take so long for a book?
It really takes ages. In fact, the scheduled publication date was last year, but there were a lot of shifts in the publishing house. There was this one imprint that got dissolved, and all the titles got moved to my imprint, and those titles were given precedence over mine.
Okay.
So then my book got moved like a year.
So now it's been 4 months.
Yes, it's been 3 months.
It's been 3 months.
3 months, yes.
And how many books have you sold?
Almost 5,000 copies.
Wow, congratulations.
Thank you so much.
So it's taken you you're now 24, 25.
Yes, I'm 24.
You're
Yeah.
24. So it's taken you 16 years
Yes.
of work to get a book published.
Yes.
Wow, I just want to sit with that for a bit. Wow,
Yeah.
that's incredible.
Thank you so much.
I think more than a book getting published, what is incredible is that your staying power has just kept you on at it. You know,
Yeah.
a lot of people think if you're passionate about something, you don't need to work hard at it.
No, they're so wrong. In fact, you need to work extra hard at it, because if you're passionate about something, you want to do the best and you want to give it all you've got, which is why you need to work even harder at it. Because with something you're not passionate about, you are willing to settle for something that's less. But with writing, I was like, I want the best and only the best.
Understand.
Yeah.
Understand. Okay.
So,
You know, you've mentioned the big five in our earlier conversations, and you have been published by one of the big five.
yes.
So what's so big about the big five? And who have you been published by?
So the big five publishers are the five biggest publishers in the world, and Penguin Random House, Simon and Schuster, HarperCollins, Macmillan, and Hachette. But I think one of the publishers got replaced by this independent press recently. So I think the big five label has been dissolved, but back then they were like the elite five. And even now, everyone labels them as a big five because they occupied the original spot.
Okay.
So it's like Oxford and Cambridge, even if another UK college replaces them, they're always going to be Oxford and Cambridge. You know, it's
I
about
understand.
that. I'm published by Harper Teen, which is the teen imprint of HarperCollins publishers.
Okay.
So, yeah.
And this book is a rom-com for
Yes.
young adults.
Yes, it's a rom-com for teens.
Can I read it?
Yeah, of course you can.
So it's something that even older people can read.
Yeah, it's very accessibly written. And if you say you enjoy the likes of The Princess Diaries, you know,
Okay.
you'll enjoy this book.
Okay, something
Yeah,
like that.
yeah.
Okay, nice. You know, you've also mentioned to me that you like historical novels.
Yes.
And that's something that someday you'll want to write. Is it one of those things that fall into your, I must do this, or I would like to do this?
I actually did write a historical book.
Oh, okay.
I wrote it in 2023, right after I had gotten the book deal for Krishna Kumar. So the historical was my 7th book, essentially. And with every book, I get so invested in the project. I'd say Krishna Kumar, surprisingly, was the one that at that point, I was the least invested in. Because in my head, I was selling myself out. I was not doing something that was authentic to me, but eventually this became like, you know, my favorite child, because I worked on edits for this for so many years, and it just grew with me in a way. And I love what I've done with this book. But yeah, the historical I started writing in 2023. It took me a year to write that. It's the longest that I've taken to write a book, because usually I finish a book in 6 to 8 months.
Wow.
The book that got me my agent, I finished in 2.5 months.
Wow.
The historical took me a long while because it was my most ambitious project. took a lot of research.
Oh, that's the murder mystery you're talking about?
No. That was the thriller. That was a
Okay.
thriller. And at that point, that was my most ambitious project.
I love that. Yes. Yeah, because, it's very interesting because every book you write, you're saying, that was my most ambitious project.
But unfortunately, those ambitious projects don't sell for some reason. It's like books have become like fast fashion in a way because of book talk and because of bookfluencers on Bookstagram. And they mostly read, like spicy romances or romanticises. And I love those genres, but the other genres end up taking a backseat, So
Yeah, but I think, you should take a lot of relief from the fact that some of the best books, which have gone on to become cult books, took a long time in becoming a cult book.
They did.
Yeah,
That's true.
yeah.
Like Stephen King's Carrie, he threw it in the trash.
Yeah,
and it
what a
became
book.
it became famous like 13 years later. So it took a long while.
So have you ever thought of script writing?
Yes. In fact, I have a script writing major for my master's.
Okay, now coming to that. Okay, that's interesting. So you did computer science.
Yes.
And then I know you went to Cambridge.
Yes.
To learn to write.
Yes.
After writing 7 books.
Yes.
So explain that to me.
So honestly, wanting to go to like a big university, like an Ivy League or Oxbridge, has always been like this lifelong dream of mine. Not essentially because I was intent on getting like say a placement, but because I wanted to be able to say that I'm an alumna of this college, So I had applied to UK colleges for engineering actually when I was just getting out of high school, but it was too expensive and we couldn't afford it, and student loan didn't seem like a feasible choice. So I had to let go of that dream back then. But then once I had gotten my book deal and I had let go of engineering as like a career choice and had left my internship that I got, I was like, okay, I think that maybe now I want to finally apply for a master's, and I'll do that in creative writing.
Wow.
And the reason why I did a master's in creative writing and not any other field is because I always felt that because I was self-taught, I wanted to expand my horizons in a way, because publishing is very uncertain. You never really know that even if you get one book deal, you don't know if you're going to get another book deal. That's how uncertain it is. So I was like, let me broaden my horizons. Let me get into, say, screenwriting, because I've always been told I write really good action scenes. So I thought that maybe I might be able to write a fast-paced screenplay, and those are much shorter than books.
Okay.
So when I got into...
You said about 20,000 words?
Yes, 20,000 words. Yes. So Krishna Kumar is 91,000 words, the
Whoa.
first draft. Yeah. And after editing, it became about 89,000 words. But a feature film, a Hollywood length feature film, is about 20,000 words. So it's a faster write as well.
Got it.
So my first year, we covered the basics. We covered fiction, we covered poetry, we covered non-fiction and screenwriting. And then in the second year, we could choose a major. So
and were you happy about doing this course? Did it really help you?
Oh, it was the 2 best years of my life. Cambridge is, it's as dreamy as it is marketed to be. And even now, like, I'm going back for my graduation next month, and I'm so excited because just Cambridge is it's my favorite place in the world. So yeah, it was, and because we would have our lessons in this place called Madingley Hall, which is like a castle, and it would have all of these rooms with these old portraits and these wood paneled walls, and we would have
very Harry Potter.
Yeah, very Harry Potter, and we would have our dinners, and all of our meals would be like 3-course meals, and we would have a wine to accompany each meal. It was very, very dreamy. So yeah. So yes, I would not take back those 2 years for anything.
Wow. Amazing.
Yeah.
Amazing. The life of a writer is very romanticized, right? The way that it goes is that you see this writer lost in their own world, writing away, then throwing a page out, then writing again, or typing again, throwing it out. How does it work for you? Is it like that? Is it as romantic as we see it? Or is there a lot of grit, grime, planning, structuring that goes into it?
For me personally, it's not either, because I am what the publishing industry calls a pantser.
What's a pants? Oh, yeah, that's
Yeah,
right.
yeah,
What
yeah.
is a pantser?
So a pantser is someone who goes into writing a book without knowing anything about what they're going to do next. And the 5 books that I wrote before I got my agent, they were all pantsed, where I would just go on Pinterest. I would come up with a mood board where I would get a few images, because I'm a very visual writer. I need to have a sense of setting, and I need to be immersed in the setting and the vibes of the project before I
Okay.
get into it. And I would write a 1-line pitch. I would have, like, The Summer I Turned Pretty meets Never Have I Ever in a rom-com about a teen who goes on a road trip to claim her first kiss. So that would be like the soft pitch that I would write. And then I would just start writing, and I would figure out the story as I went along with it.
So it's almost as if the story wrote you.
Yes, exactly. And my mom, like, she sent me this reel about how, like, characters speak to authors sometimes, and this would happen to me. Like, in my dreams, I would have my characters come to me and be like, don't kill me, do this, kill this character instead, or like, don't make me end up with this guy, make me end up with her instead. So it would be a lot of that, and I would figure out the story as it went.
Wow. So
Yeah.
you said you used Pinterest boards.
Yes, yes.
Explain that to me a little more.
So Pinterest is it's a very visual, like, platform. It's not like social media, so it's very personal to you, and you can look up anything you want. You can look up, like, chai aesthetic, and you can come up with like these beautiful images, and you save them to your Pinterest board. And for my dystopian novels, I would just look up cyberpunk aesthetic or cyberpunk woman with guns, that sort of thing, and I would just save those images. And before I start writing a certain scene, I would always go back to a certain image that gave me an inspiration for that scene, and I would need to look at that image and before I write. So yeah.
So you've written across so many genres.
Yeah.
Is there a particular genre that you really love to write in, but may not be doing it right now purely for the reasons that you need to feed yourself?
Yeah. Honestly, no. It's just, for me, I don't think I can write 2 consecutive books in a particular genre. For me, every book needs to be in a different genre.
There
or I
won't be
get
another
bored.
rom-com?
No, I did write another rom-com, which is coming out next year.
Oh.
But that's because of contract stuff. But personally, if I had a choice, I wouldn't write 2 books in the same genre or even the same age category. Like, I would need to write a teen novel and then an adult novel and then maybe a middle grade novel, like that.
You wouldn't want to be known as the queen of teen romance.
No, I would not want to be known as the queen of...
No?
No, that's not a label that I would like.
Interesting.
Yeah,
Interesting.
yeah. Like, for example, Agatha Christie, she's the queen of murder, right?
Yes, that's right.
No, that's not something that I want to write across genres. Yeah.
Interesting. Or you could always write under a pseudonym.
Yeah, that's true. It's just the thing is, if I would but I would like to have my name attached to everything I write, and I want to show that I have a range of projects. Like, this is one author called Veronica Roth, and she's the author of Divergent, which is a very, very famous dystopian series. And despite her first series being such a multi-million, like copy sold bestseller, every book she's written has been a different genre, and that's what I aspire to do.
Okay,
Yeah,
got it.
Yeah.
So, Better Catch Up, Krishna Kumar, the book that has been published, finally.
Yes.
And has sold 5,000 copies. It's a rom-com.
Yes.
How close is it to your idea of love?
So, I believe in love, and I am a romantic because I've been lucky enough to have been with a very romantic partner. I've been with him for 6.5 years.
Okay.
So I do believe in love, and I
Okay.
do believe that there is that one person out there for you. So a lot of that does weigh into, what I write. The male leads are always yearning. They're always all about, like big actions and love confessions, and they're basically falling at the female lead's feet all the time, worshipping the ground that she walks on. So those are the kind of books that I write. I know a lot of like people love alpha male romances or like,
That's right.
yeah.
That is the traditional romantic
Yeah,
novels.
that I hate. I hate that category of
Okay.
romance. I don't read them. I read like if it's a heterosexual romance, for me it personally needs to be where the guy is always yearning and pining and the woman is the one who has,
Okay. Who calls
takes
the
the lead,
shot?
calls the shot and takes the
Nice,
lead.
nice. Oh,
Yeah.
that's an
Yeah.
interesting take
Yeah.
because I remember when I read a few of my romance novels, and I'm not too much of a rom-com person, but the ones I read were all about this alpha guy who doesn't show how much he loves and
Yeah.
cares,
Oh gosh.
and he'll be kind of mean to this woman, and
Yeah.
she'll go into a corner and cry, kind of
Yeah.
stuff, which really didn't gel for me. I want to come back to what you honestly spoke about, which was your mental health.
Yes. Yes.
I want to understand that while you were going through this process, what did you do to really pull yourself up? And how did you make sure it did not impact your decisions about what you wanted to do in writing?
I just think that a lot of times, a lot of people either don't have the privilege or they don't have like the finances to be able to take themselves out of it, or it's just that like the depressing factors in their life just continue to persist. But I was lucky enough to have a supportive family and a supportive partner and supportive brothers as well, where once I like started spiraling a lot. Like I had been in depression for a while. Like it started in 2021, as I mentioned earlier, and I didn't go to a psychiatrist to take medications until 2022. So for a year, I had been, living off of instant gratification and believing that I didn't need therapy or that this is how I would just continue to live my life. But then a lot of things happened. I quit my job and I lost a very close friend of mine. And it made me realize that this cannot continue. It's really, really affecting my art and it's making me develop a very negative attitude towards publishing and writing in general, which is why my mom took me to a psychiatrist. I was on medications for a year, and the thing that I did was I took all my medications on time. I would go for all of my appointments because I genuinely wanted to get better and I wanted to get out of the state that I was in. And even though publishing had given me like a lot of pain and the process still continues to be painful, it's important to change the way that you look at the process instead of eliminating that from your life entirely.
Oh, interesting.
For
Wow.
me, just because publishing and writing was making me depressed because of how it was, it did not mean that I needed to let go of it. It just meant that I needed a good break and that I needed to come back with a difference in attitude, to how I look at it. So the way that I look at rejections, of course, they still hurt me because, it's questioning my craft and my art as a writer. But I feel like I'm in a good state right now because I'm very comfortable with how this industry works. And I know it's not, it's not about me and how I am as a writer. It's part of the process and it's the market. So yeah, it's important to because I was having a depressive episode, which is like a cold, you have to treat it in that moment. It's just, it's something that affects you. You need to treat it. If you don't, it'll end up becoming like long-standing, long-term depression.
Yeah. It'll become an escalating issue.
And a lot of people don't have the privilege to treat it because they don't have supportive family, supportive partners. They don't have the finance to, because these like medicines can be quite expensive and they don't have the environment either. But I was lucky enough that I had all of that.
So what would be the advice that you would give to somebody who's facing a lot of rejections and difficulties in their career and seem to be sliding away? Is there any advice you would give them to handle it proactively?
I just think that if you make yourself aware from the very beginning that this is how any creative industry functions and that it's not a meritocracy where you are judged purely based on how good of a writer you are, and it really is about the market and what kind of a mood an editor or an agent might be in at that moment. Like they might like reading a rom-com one month, they might like reading mystery thrillers another month. So it really is not on you and what you are doing. It's about timing and it's about luck.
And I guess it's about focusing on what you can impact
Exactly.
and not really worrying about what you can't impact.
Exactly. So if you find that loophole the way I did for writing like a very tropey novel, and you manage to get your foot in through the door, then it does get a little bit easier. So that way you can strategize. Like art is also strategy. I'm happy to write rom-coms for the next few years and build my base in this, so I can eventually write other projects and other
I
genres
understand.
as well.
Understand. I
Yes.
understand. While not being known as the queen of teen
Yes.
drama.
I mean, it would be an added perk, yes, for sure. But I want.
There's a lot of
yes.
stories in you that you want to tell
Yes.
beyond these.
Yes, yes.
Understood. I have a question, which is a fun segment.
Yes.
So it's either this or that kind of question. So ready for it?
Yes, ready.
Okay. Would you rather write one book that becomes a cult classic 20 years later, or have a book that blows up instantly?
Blows up instantly.
Okay. Would you rather write only rom-coms for the rest of your life, or only write one good historical novel?
Ooh, so like I can write rom-coms for the rest of my life, but only one good historical novel. I think I would write rom-coms for the rest of my life because I want to keep writing.
Okay.
You know? Yeah.
Okay. Would you rather have unlimited creative energy or a guaranteed financial stability as a writer?
Guaranteed financial stability. I think that changes a lot.
Wow.
Because I feel like I have a lot of creative energy right now.
So you just like to make sure the money comes
Yeah, the
in.
money comes in.
Fair enough. Would you rather know exactly how your story will end before you write it, or surprise yourself with every twist like you do now?
I would still like to surprise myself.
All right.
Yes.
Yeah, I think it's interesting, right? Because then you are really living your novel.
I really am.
Yeah,
Yeah.
yeah.
And it's always more fun for me that way. I've had to outline my last two projects, but it's been fun, but I would still like surprise myself.
Okay. Would you rather have readers deeply understand your work, even if you're in a niche, or be widely popular and slightly misunderstood?
Widely popular and slightly misunderstood.
All right. Thank you so much, Anahita, for
Thank
being
you,
here.
yeah.
I mean, I am walking away certainly having bridged the gap of rejections. Because in my world, when there were rejections, you just move out of that area.
yeah.
You don't put good money after bad money. So you just say, okay, it's not working out, let's move away. But I think what I'm taking away today is that sometimes if it's really important to you,
Yeah.
you just keep at it, come what may.
Yes.
Wow,
100%.
amazing. Thank you so much.
Thank you so much for having me.
Today, Anahita reminded us that passion isn't always poetic. Sometimes it's exhausting, lonely, and slow. She didn't stop when success didn't come quickly. She stayed long enough to see it through. Her resilience and ability to lift herself up to follow her passion for writing is nothing short of inspirational. If this conversation resonated with you, share it with someone who's wondering whether the long road is really worth walking. Don't forget to like, share, and subscribe. And follow us on Instagram, LinkedIn, and Spotify, where we continue conversations that matter. And follow Anahita Karthik on Instagram to explore her books and writing journey. And as always, stay sweet, stay zen.